All right, so welcome everyone. It's such a pleasure to see all of your lovely faces here today on this Tuesday. As you signed up for, we are going to be talking about the workplace well-being and performance accreditation and how it might relate to kind of the work that you do, give you an opportunity to ask questions and to also see how we can yeah, support you through that. Oh, and thank you. I do have someone who has completed the training before, so good to know. So what we're going to talk about is just really how you can, what the practitioner program is about in terms of helping you develop skills and competencies to build healthy, high-performing work cultures, and by extension, how to support organizations or clients in building their culture and supporting leadership and resilience and performance. And so it is, so the workplace well-being and performance accreditation program that we have is one of the only nationally recognized accreditations that are available that are applicable to all sectors and industries and of any size. And in the spirit of continuous improvement, just like we promote in the accreditation program, when you're trying to support a workplace culture, it's really a continuous cycle and of evolving of supporting them. It's We are also sharing a couple of updates that we made to the program just to stay hopefully ahead of the curve and to support folks in this work. And so, in terms of how it started, the program's been around for almost 7 years, and it's it came out of just the recognition that a lot of folks who work in the space of well-being or occupational health and safety or human resources are kind of required to wear many hats and have all kinds of different types of competencies that aren't necessarily taught or easily accessed through formal education programs. And a lot of countries across the world have associations and so organizations that support this type of accreditation to bridge that gap between health promotion and well-being and like organizational development, human resources, performance, all of these things, but not none in Canada. And so it's a Canadian-based program. However, we do have people who have completed it and gone through it in other countries, and we've been under the exploration of looking at, of Wellness Works Global, just to support that. Of course, different jurisdictions have different things, but ours is Canadian focused. But we do touch on other different international practices because different parts of the world have evolved and do different work, and so it is based on best practice and evidence-based approaches from what is out there, and it's really just about supporting organizations and people to really give you the skills and competencies you need to help to support your organization to be healthy and high performing. And so it really does kind of bridge the gap, as I said before. It's very much aligned with the psychological health and safety standard, but it's also aligned with organizational performance best practices as well as the broader well-being. So psychological health and safety is a very, very important, I'd say probably the foundation of supporting a healthy work culture, but we're really focused on the culture piece and aligning and bridging all these gaps. We actually just recently published some new research that's hot off the press, that's actually being designed. It should be up by the end of the week, on a research study that we did to look at how organizations currently are measuring and supporting kind of the triple bottom line approach. So we also have a little bit of sustainability within the accreditation program as well, so that we can really think about aligning all of the things that really matter to stakeholders, to employees, to clients, all of those kinds of things. And so you're here. So this is just preaching to the converted. Of course, we all know what when we focus on a culture that's healthy and and supports everyone to feel a sense of belonging and helps them to be well, they will do well. People will do well. There'll be a higher productivity, lower turnover, all those kinds of things. And what's really important is to think about when through the program, it's really about developing your competencies to kind of engineer a culture shift and be an architect of the culture, not through traditional wellness activities and programs. Those can play a role, but they should not be the focus. So it's really about using an integrated evidence-informed strategy to support them to get these types of benefits. So a little bit about the certification program again. So it formalizes some of those skills and competencies that are needed to build healthy, high performing, and psychologically healthy and safe workplaces. And as I said, it really blends in practices from HR and OHS, leadership, health promotion, etc., to think about one integrated, simple way to support workplace culture. Oftentimes, things are very much siloed, and there's a strategy for DEI, there's a strategy for mental health, there's a social committee somewhere. Like there's all these things happening. So we talk about really being a facilitator of change and integrating it for you. And so, yeah, again, I said, as I mentioned before, it's based on contributions from some really leading researchers and practitioners. So grateful for insights provided by Dr. Stephen Murgatroyd, Dr. Graham Lowe, Deborah Connors, as well as you will have noticed in the preamble. We've integrated a lot of her work around the culture piece as well in the leadership level, which is something that has shifted a little bit and really is kind of gives those practical leadership skills in terms of how to support a healthy culture. So that piece is really exciting as well. If you haven't heard of her, actually, she actually started up an association, and she's one of the first people I talked to before Wellness Works Canada started. But she started one like 25, 26 years ago, but the climate wasn't quite there yet, where there was the readiness of everyone to understand this as a real role and a real career and all of those kinds of things and so it's so exciting to have her be really on board and supportive of the work and help to look at crafting the accreditation program based on some of the things that she's done. And then she ran the Better Workplace Conference. Well, now it's called the Better Workplace Conference. It was um, a conference that ran for about 17 years. That was basically a large community of practice for people who work in the space of workplace well-being. And so, yeah, so it's exciting to have her feedback there and a number of other people who are on our advisory group, including Marianne Baton and Alan Smofsky and a whole bunch of others. So, so good. So grateful that to have their expertise to make sure that we're staying on top of the edge. Mary Lou McDonald is another one who helps provide contributions. And so, yeah, and so basically there are three levels, as I mentioned before. And this is one change. So, Julie, that's something for you to look at. And I'll explain what it means for you in a little bit. So, if anyone who's completed it before, you actually will get an upgraded badge and verified certificate with a new title because our previous ambassador level is now a practitioner level because as you would have known, Julie, if you want to speak to it or you don't have to, it's quite comprehensive and robust and it's very much taking the systems approach to building a strategic shift in the organization. And so it really is kind of at that practitioner level. And then we have the leader level, which is really applicable for anyone who's, yeah, thanks, Julie, who's who is leading a team. So it works on your own personal leadership skills and to help you be just a good leader, so the general leadership skills, as well as looking at how to build in daily healthy practices into your workplace to support a healthy culture. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in here in just a little bit. So again, the ambassador level which is now a practitioner level. It aligns with the psychological health and safety standard, and it also, like I said, broadly aligns with well-being and performance and sustainability, and based on best practices and applied research. So we are planning on doing new research every year now, and so it was an exciting journey. The last one that we had, we were excited to partner with my tax and the University of Alberta, but I think research just helps to make sure that what we're doing is not just what has already been done, but just really kind of on top of things. And so the practitioner level as it is now really helps you to assess that current state, understand the readiness for your organization, for the leaders, to kind of build a strategy with leaders and employees by inspiring them to get on board to implement that change and evaluate that impact and kind of go in that continuous process of improvement. It's not a one and done. And do it in an integrated way to support all those aspects that I was mentioning before. And then the leader level really looks at helping you to adopt appreciative leadership skills. So, really kind of leaning towards more of that positive psychology end of things, how to create positive and resilient teams. So you may be doing both, but you could be looking at the systems change for your entire organization, or maybe just supporting your team. Talks about how you can have more meaningful creative meetings. Again, uses those positive organizing principles, and help your organization to build that healthy culture. And so we oftentimes organizations will sponsor people to take the accreditation program, so that because it's a good value, of course, there's going to good strong VOI and ROI on it. It really definitely helps to support internal expertise. Oftentimes, organizations, when they're trying to reduce the silos and bring everyone in together with all of this, they it's helpful to have, again, someone internal uh, who can support all of this work, and have that expertise and build it internally. Because what it will help you to do and know how to do is to be able to conduct assessments, identify root causes, which is so key. Oftentimes we think about, okay, we're just going to offer some resilience training because people are burnt out, or we're going to, offer walking challenges because people are sitting too much, or, we're going to do all these different things. And those things can be nice to do and nice to have, but they aren't going to get to the root issues. And so being able to identify those root issues and be able to complete assessments and all those things are going to be really, really so important, in terms of preventing all of the costs that we might see of not investing, which is, there's so many things that can happen. We actually have a good article on that where you can do a calculation. Well, it's a resource, I would say, not an article, where you can do the calculation to say what is the cost of not doing anything. And really, I think it's a risk management strategy, right? When we're trying to support building a healthy work culture. So what it will enable you to do when you've kind of completed the accreditation program is be able to conduct assessments, identify those root issues, build really integrated well-being and performance strategies. So it's very much about the integration and facilitation of all the moving pieces that are happening within the organization. It's applicable for small, like any size organizations. For the larger, there's more facilitation you're going to have to do. There's going to be more partners and stakeholders you're going to have to engage and get on to board with this. And the smaller ones, you may be able to wear all those hats to make that change and make that shift. You're going to be able to really embed these things into the culture. So it's really about not reinventing. You might have a strategic plan, but it's not about reinventing. It's really about how can we weave this into the culture, in terms of the way the work is done each and every day, so that it becomes sustainable and not like a program where funding gets cut because something happened. And I've seen that happen, and it's sad. Like at WestJet, there's all kinds of different organizations where this has happened, where they had to tie in money, and they had like a big group doing this work, and then they laid them all off because it was an appendage and it wasn't something that was integrated. And so we see, and I'll share with you a link to a job description of what a workplace well-being and performance practitioner should be, kind of at a higher level advisor, kind of strategic person to the high levels of leadership within the organization, to help equip you to be able to make all the decisions that you need to and things like that. And oftentimes I see people who are doing the program, they were hired into a position. The job description is very vague. Their supervisor isn't even 100% sure what it is that they're supposed to be doing because they don't work in that space, and so they aren't sure. And so I'll share that with you because that might be something that's helpful as well, of just kind of understanding, what the role is, and what it encompasses in order to be able to make the impact that you want to make. So, yeah, so in terms of what's in it for you, of course, you get the national recognition, you get a digital badge, a verified certificate that you can post on LinkedIn. Through our partner Credivera, who does the verified certificates, you can actually also build your own personal resume with other certificates and things that you might have to be able to share. One of the big values a lot of people see is, of course, the network that you get to be a part of. So, kind of looking at connecting with other people who are doing this work, sharing your own personal challenges or solutions that you've had in that community of practice. So, during the program, we do meet every 2 weeks as a group to discuss. And so I facilitate it, but it's really you talking with each other and learning and networking from the real on the ground, real life scenarios of how it works. And you do, of course, through it, get access to ongoing research and tools and resources that will help to support you as well. And so when we look at the different levels here, when we think about the pathway to accreditation, there you do need to be a member, and that just gives you access to all the resources and tools and online forum, etc., other broader networking opportunities, and then through that, we now start with the first level, is the practitioner level, which is quite robust and helps to support you. We say it takes about 5 to 15 hours per unit, and each unit is 2 weeks long. And that's where you learn from research practices and all these types of things. And it's also very much an applied process. So it's the online platform that we use. It's all online and asynchronous except for the biweekly meetings. It allows you to learn, of course. You learn from videos, resources, articles, stuff like that are in there. But then there's the questions in there that make you apply it to your real life work, to have you think about, is this, and to show evidence of your competency in that specific area, to demonstrate that you could do something to make this shift or change in terms of conducting an assessment, that kind of thing, or what you have done or what you could do or what you would do to help to support that. So that's how the questions are kind of phrased. And then, as I mentioned, the leadership level is really more around developing your own leadership skills. You do not have to take the practitioner before the leader. You can do it in either order that you prefer. So that's something different, except for the expert level, you do need to complete at least the practitioner level first as a prerequisite, just to demonstrate those competencies. And then to get the expert level, you basically demonstrate impact. So practitioner level, you're demonstrating what you could do or what you have done. Expert level is demonstrating what impact you've made in the organization. Like you've seen, rates of absenteeism decrease or engagement scores have increased or what have you. So we need kind of the numbers of the impact that you've made within that. And then the leadership one is really, again, very applied, gives you those opportunities to do these real life practices that will help to support you building your team and building your own leadership skills as you go through. And so, yeah, so it's very applied. There's real life workplace projects, there's assessment, there's coaching, there's all kinds of templates and tools for you to be able to do the assessment. So you get access to the surveys, the audit tools, evaluation tools, all those kinds of things. And thanks for your question. Can you go from practitioner to expert? You can. You don't have to. Um, and yeah, you might not want to be a people leader. People are hard. I know. Yeah. So for sure. Yeah. Yeah, you can. You just need the practitioner level to be able to move on to the expert. Yeah. Yeah. So that is one difference because it used to be that you had to have the ambassador and the practitioner, but the practitioner level is now the leader level, which is a little bit broader. I'll give you a slide of a chart that shows the differences for anyone who's familiar with the way it was before. And so in terms of the time and investment, I mentioned this before. It's 5 to 15 hours per unit. It is asynchronous. I recommend you do a question or two a day versus trying to lump it all into like a Friday or Saturday or the day before our networking meeting. There's no judgment in our reflection meetings if you haven't finished your work in the PACE group. We're all very much understanding and supportive of flexibility and supporting your well-being and understanding that life happens. So yeah, so it's all asynchronous except for those meetings. Again, the total level is 40 to 60 hours for each of them, but it's over 3 months for each of them. And yeah, and it does offer pretty competitive pricing to some of the others based on what the feedback and everything you get. So everybody gets individualized feedback on every single piece of evidence that they submit. So there's a lot of good feedback and things like that you'll get throughout that. And who is it for? It's consultants, HR leaders, managers, OD leaders, OHS professionals, all these, basically anyone or people who are aspiring to do this type of work as well, is where it is relevant for. So just a quick overview of the difference in the change. So Julie, you might find this. So because you have done the ambassador before, you will get a practitioner. Anybody who had did the practitioner before will now be a master practitioner. which is a kind of a new recognition because of all that work that you put into it. Our old practitioner level was based on leadership skills, but it was also strategic systems kind of change, and it was very robust as well. And so you get a bit of a bigger kind of designation for that. But this is kind of an overview of, and I know it's a lot of text on a slide. I can provide you with a handout afterwards so that you can read it and understand what it looks like. But for the practitioner is foundational, systematic kind of change and understanding the process and going through everything. It's considered somewhat an entry level, but again, the leader one can be done on your own. Or before the practitioner if you want to be a people leader. And if you don't want to be a people leader, you can do the practitioner level. Oh, and then the expert level is kind of unchanged as well, and it's builds on the practitioner level. So I've got testimonials here. Again, it's probably hard to see, but I just like to open it up for questions and give you lots of time to just kind of dive into it and see if there's anything else that you're interested in knowing about or learning about. And with that, I did promise you I'd pause the recording, so I will do that.